and St. Lawrence in lane 6. These crews have been seeded by the coaches, and they are through the breakage zone, which means this one is going to go all the distance.
Yes, we have a good 6-boat across race for this heat, with all of them looking pretty strong in this opening couple of 100 meters. Off the start, I mean, we have a pretty solid line across of the top 4 crews already establishing themselves. So this should be a good race down the course for all 4 of these crews.
I'm Dave Vogel, and I'm joined here with Nicole Miller. She is giving you the expert commentary as the person who's probably rode lots and lots of races on this river, graduate of WPI and frequent commentator on racing here at Lake Quinsigamond. So she knows the course quite a bit, and we know of this race, Tufts has the lead. That is, they won this event last week at the NIRC, so they are the favorite. William Smith is in second place, about a length back. Third then looks like it's Rochester fighting with Smith for third place. That's a qualifying spot. Meanwhile, fifth and sixth are Conn College and St. Lawrence in that order, though very close. So there are the 500-meter buoys on the screen. You can see that the third and fourth, nothing in it. 500 meters of hard energy, braking, tremendous effort on the part of those athletes, and they haven't separated themselves from one another at all. So it's a dead level heat at third place, while Tufts enjoys an open water advantage in lane 1. William Smith, the better part of 2/3 of length up on the 2 crews that are fighting it out, and that's Smith and Rochester.
Yes, and that William Smith program has come a long way in this past couple years. They have gone from being a petite level final contender to one of the top contenders in this entire field, and they have already booked their ticket to the NCAA championships next month, or at the end of the month, excuse me. So they are one of the crews that is really looking to build on that momentum in these next coming races. And they already have almost a full length up on that Smith crew that is sitting back in third. Smith will have to put something together here if they want to progress into that grand final. And they are sitting almost a full length up on the crew from Rochester now, as they have really started to pull themselves ahead of that Rochester crew.
This is a great drone shot. Sometimes you'll see along that road that's on the top of the screen of coaches following on bicycles to just see what's happening in the heats, and they want to be there when their crew races. You can imagine that is can be an interesting proposition if you stay out of the traffic.
Yes, and that is a tough area. There is no sidewalk up there, and there is a very narrow road. So you might not see as many up on this course as you would on some other courses, but there are definitely coaches that go out of their way to really put in that effort and see their crews race the full length of this course.
Absolutely. And Nicole, I've bicycled that hundreds of times in my it's a very familiar, and even when they had the construction for all those years, they were building a retaining wall to keep the road from falling into Lake Quinsigamond. But right now it's become, kind of a parade. The top 3 with only 2 to qualify, it's a little bit dicier. We've got Tufts and William Smith holding the qualifying position, but Smith is certainly not at all out of contention. They have only half a boat length back. This is just approaching the final 500 meters now. This is going through that critical third 500, and William Smith still holding the advantage over Smith, but this is a different game. This is the 3-heat event. That means only 2 boats qualify for the grand final.
Yes, and this race is very important for that Smith crew. As previously mentioned, the NCAA at-large bids account for your placements in those top 2 boats. While Smith did not win the NUMAC championship for the overall team title and win that NCAA bid, they are definitely in contention for an at-large position, assuming that their 1V and 2V are able to get their job done today.
Well, with those orange buoys that you can see on your screen, that means they're in the last 500 meters. And Smith at 36 strokes a minute is doing all they can to try to mount a challenge to overtake William Smith for second place. William Smith in the green boat has held second place for the overwhelming majority of this race, and they're still hanging on. The question is whether Smith will be able to overtake that deficit of about half a length and get in as a qualifier. Pretty clear that Tufts is going to qualify, looking at the margin that they've got.
As has been the story all day, this Tufts crew has been fairly dominant on the field. And we have a pretty good battle brewing in second, even though that William Smith crew established that lead fairly early in the race and has continued to hold on to it, even though that Smith boat has mounted the challenge in this final 500 meters.
Well, in the Division III, later on in the month, as Nicole said, there is an NCAA championship for Division III. That is a team trophy, and they compete in both first and second eights. So each of the selected teams, there'll be 8 teams selected to go to that national championship. Many of those teams will be NESCAC teams.
Yes, so the winner of the highest placing NESCAC school out of the women's 1V this afternoon will win that NESCAC championship and that automatic qualifying bid. William Smith has already won their bid via the Liberty League championship title, while these other schools will be looking to compete. Whichever schools do not win the NESCAC will certainly be looking to compete for those open bid spots alongside Smith and some of the other crews here.
So that was Tufts and William Smith qualifying in first and second in the first heat of the women's second varsity. Smith put up a great fight, but took third. They'll be going to the petite final.
Yes, they will be going to that petite final alongside that Rochester crew. Well, Conn College and St. Lawrence, Conn College just crossing the line at that final shot, will compete in the third level final.
Heat number 2. Williams in lane 1, Bates in lane 2, Hamilton in lane 3, Coast Guard in 4, Ithaca in 5, and Mount Holyoke in lane 6. 4 of these teams competed last Saturday in the New England Rowing Championships, part of the IRA Collegiate Championship Series. In that second varsity women, it was Williams in second place taking the silver medal. Bates took 6th, and then Hamilton and Ithaca were not involved in that regatta, but Coast Guard was 11th and Mount Holyoke was 15th. So we'll see what changes have been made, what adjustments for people who want to do better here on the NESCAC qualifier day at the NIRC.
All of these NESCAC crews have been throwing down really well this morning. So it is going to be a very interesting afternoon, especially as we move into those 1V races, as those will be pivotal in determining these qualifying spots. However, there is some great battles that have occurred in these lower boats, and they are certainly moving up into the rankings as all the crews are now off the line.
Williams a little bit more patient at their start.
Yes, all the crews are now past that breakage zone, it appears. So the race is official and they are set to go on this course.
Bates at 38 strokes a minute. Hamilton still up high and now, just now, starting to settle into base cadence. Hamilton and Coast Guard, that looks like all the crews are off to a level start, more or less. I think we're going to see some of the higher seated crews starting to work out toward the front of the pack.
Yes, about 350 meters into this race, we're looking at a little bit of an early lead by the Williams and the Bates crews. However, that Hamilton and that Coast Guard crew are right there in that mix still, with the crew from Ithaca also holding on, keeping contact with that Coast Guard boat by about a deck.
First to fourth, one boat length, with Ithaca and Mount Holyoke trailing by another 3/4 of a length each. So we've got kind of a diagonal line as you look at it from the drone overhead, with Williams just a bit ahead of Bates. Bates has been showing that they really like the base cadence on this race course. That was the way last weekend, and they've been doing the same here. So they're still holding on terms with Williams. Those two right now extending their advantage in the race for the top two to qualify. Hamilton, a half a boat length back. They are just trailing Bates by that much as Bates looks to get themselves into the grand final. At this point, Hamilton in third and Coast Guard in fourth. Those two would be winning the spots in the petite final if the next 1,300 meters stays as the first 7.
Yes, and down in that 5th place spot, Ithaca has actually done a pretty good job of holding on to that boat from Coast Guard. It's tough being out in that outside lane with the other 3 crews above them all bunched so tight together, but they are doing a really good job of trying to put together a race and edge themselves into that petite final. But we still have that Williams crew out in front, and they're making a very good push out ahead of that Bates crew. As I mentioned previously, the Bates crew this season has been a really great back half team, so we will have to see as they approach that 1,000-meter mark in the next couple strokes if they opt to take that rate up and push themselves up even with that Williams crew. Hamilton has done a great job of holding on to these top 2 crews. They did not race here at the New England Championships as mentioned. However, they are keeping their deck on that Bates boat at this moment. If Bates makes a move, they will have to go along with them if they want to keep themselves in this race for a spot in the grand final.
Well, Coach Paula Toms of Williams has her team out in front by 3/4 of a length. They're in that all-important third 500. And Peter Steenstra's team from Bates, always a very strong competitor in the NESCAC League. They are in a very close second position. They have maybe 3/4 of a length back of that Williams entry.
Yes.
Peter is, Peter coaches both the men and the women, which is not totally unique among Division III schools, but it requires a lot of help from volunteers and assistants and so forth to bring his crews along to this level of competition.
Yes, because as important as the head coaches of these programs are, there are a lot of people also behind the scenes helping to bring these crews to the level that they are at, especially of crews of this size and of this caliber. One coach certainly cannot manage to coach all 5 boats that a program has, so they rely heavily on their assistants to ensure that these athletes are being developed and getting ready for that next generation of rowers that they'll have in these upper boats at some point in the future.
Well, the story of this second heat is that Williams and Bates have put themselves in a position of control. This is going to be the last 500 meters. You see that on that stationary camera as they go through that big orange buoy line. That means they've got just 500 meters to go. As soon as they see the red buoys coming underneath, coming into view for the athletes, they'll know that they've completed half of that. The last 250 meters, those white buoys all change over to red buoys. That's something that the oarsmen like to see. Means they're getting close. Bates continues to have the better of Hamilton, another length behind them. Both these top two crews look like they're rowing pretty conservatively, just milking out the base cadence for all it's worth and keeping their boats moving smoothly. You can see that their bows are just rising and driving forward in a very consistent pace.
Yes, that Williams crew is doing a really good job of maintaining that consistent rhythm. Bates notably did bring it up a little bit through that final 500 meter mark. It appears though they went up about 2 beats on their base cadence. However, they have settled back down a little bit as they've pulled their bow further ahead of that Hamilton crew. They are now in contact with Williams. However, Williams should be the first crew through this finish line by a pretty good margin.
Just a little bit different technique. Williams a little bit favoring a little bit more forward body reach at the catch. You can see the compressed legs, but also a definite more body length at that front end than what you're seeing of Bates. Most of these techniques, no matter where the differences, all work very well as long as you can get 8 people to do them exactly together.
Yes, the biggest part about this sport is certainly the cadence and the teamwork for all of the athletes in a boat. As you see, Williams crossing the line and Bates is now through that line as well, solidifying themselves as the 1-2 in this race. Hamilton is also coming across the line. They will finish third and will be in that petite final, with Coast Guard coming up right behind them to take the second spot in the petite final.
Of course, all of our observations are unofficial. The referees and the timers will have the official results for you online available. You can go to Row2K to see where that link is, but it's nirc.qra.org. So, final heat of the second varsity women. Trinity, Lane 1, Wesleyan, Lane 2, Wellesley, Lane 3, Colby in 4, WPI in 5, and Skidmore in Lane 6. Some of these heats will be replayed, as we sort and get all of the groups that are of the right speed into the right final. We'll see it again this afternoon, and then quite probably most of the NCAA championships will be comprised of the teams that are meeting here today. So several of these teams will be back at it again for national championship competition toward the end of this month.
Yes, many of these teams will be joined by the remaining 2 qualifiers, likely coming out of the West. There will be one of the schools out there, and then Catholic University already took the Mid-Atlantic bid, so they will also be joining that NCAA championships for the first time in a while.
So as Nicole has mentioned, 3 teams have already earned automatic qualifiers by winning their conference. We will have a 4th determined today as the winner of the NESCAC conference, and then there will be 4 at-large bids given out by the committee for the NCAA championships. Probably all of those 4 at-large bids will come from this regatta today. That would be the expectation of your commentators here at Worcester today.
And all the crews are now off in this heat. It is heat 3 of the women's second varsity 8. As mentioned, we have Trinity in lane 1, Wesleyan in lane... Oh, excuse me. Yes, Trinity in lane 1, Wesleyan in lane 2, Wellesley in lane 3, Colby in lane 4, WPI in lane 5, and Skidmore in lane 6. Seems as though we have a pretty solid race of 5 across, potentially 6 across, as we're going into the first 300 meters of this race.
Trinity at 38. They seem to have a bit of a lead over Wesleyan again.
Yes, Trinity is currently sitting about 4 seats up over Wesleyan, while Wesleyan is currently about 7 seats up on Wellesley. The bow ball of that Wellesley boat is sitting between the 6 and 7 seat of that Wesleyan crew. And Colby and WPI are currently sitting in 4th, going pretty much bow ball to bow ball at this moment.
So, again, that's that kind of local rivalry playing out again. Pat Tynan's team, Coach Pat Tynan of Wesleyan, the crew with the red blades and the red uniforms, just trailing Trinity, the Bantams, in the yellow boat by about a half a length at 500 meters. Coach Peter Graves' boat from Trinity has been very strong this year, and they are looking to test themselves today and probably once again against the same competition at the NCAA championships. I'm going to say that Wesleyan probably had about a 10-minute longer bus ride to get here today than did Trinity. That's about how far down I-95 or I-91 they are from the Trinity campus.
Yes, it's definitely nice having these crosstown rivalries and these cross-state rivalries on this course today, with a lot of these crews being very close together, some sharing bodies of water. Traditionally, WPI, we have raced Clark. Unfortunately, Clark is not here today. They actually are competing down at the Dadvale Regatta down in New Jersey, I believe, this weekend.
Well, top 3 in this heat, Trinity, Wesleyan, and Wellesley, all separated by about 3/4 of a length from one another. 2 to qualify for the grand final. Wellesley looks like if they keep this pace up, they will be into the petite final. Very likely that all 3 of those crews will be seeing each other. Wellesley having already punched their ticket for the NCAA championships by winning the NUMAC conference bid. They got that automatic qualifier. This may just be a preview of things to come.
Yes. And there is still a pretty good battle down in the bottom of your screen looking for that 4th place position between Colby and WPI. Colby currently has about a half-length lead over that WPI crew, but both have been pretty consistent in their pace as they move through this 1,000-meter mark, and that certainly could change in the second half of this race.
Well, Nicole, as you well know, we have had a history of the national championships upending some of the results that we see in these, both the NERC and the NIRC teams who get that extra 2 or 3 weeks of training under the belts without the pressure of exams hanging over them. Sometimes find that little bit of magic that it takes, and it's never a foregone conclusion that these particular results will be repeated either this afternoon at the grand final or at the further championship competition.
No, there have been several instances that I personally can recall over the past couple of years. Tufts has done a fantastic job of being one of the top programs in the country pretty consistently. However, for those minor medals, the 2nd and 3rd place finishers, there have definitely been some big shifts occurring in those 1V and 2V races. Specifically, Wesleyan in 2023 ended up being a surprising 2nd place finisher at the NCAA championships after only finishing, I believe it was 5th or 6th in the first varsity 8 at this regatta.
A lot can change when students just focus on one thing at a time. The the rigors of student life and all of the various aspects of it. Sometimes getting away from that and just focusing for a little bit, it's great to be able to just think about your sport for a week or two and see what happens. So more to come on this extended competition in Division 3. Right now, still looks like we've got
Trinity and Wesleyan are in that 1-2 spot currently.
Yeah, that's Trinity in the yellow boat.
Yes, and then we have Wellesley still pretty comfortably in third, and from this angle, it looks like WPI might have pulled ahead of that boat from Colby. However, this is certainly might change as we shift our perspective a little bit more.
Well, that's a critical change because that's the difference between petite final and third level final. So third and fourth get to go to the petite finals. Nothing has really changed since very early in the race as it relates to the qualifying positions. 1 and 2 from the early going have been Trinity and Wesleyan. Wesleyan in red, the red blades. The Bantams in their blue and gold are both looking to qualify. They're in the final 250 meters, approaching the finish line.
Yes, that Trinity crew is doing a really good job of holding off this Wesleyan charge. Both boats should be pretty comfortably through to that grand final this afternoon, with Wellesley taking whatever that top spot in the petite final is out of this heat. And then it will come down to either WPI or Colby, depending on where they might finish. Now that we have a better angle of the situation, we will be able to assess that as they come across the line. Trinity still has about a boat lead over that Wesleyan crew. Wesleyan has upped their rate in an attempt to try to reel in that Trinity crew. However, Trinity looks as though they are going to finish first and take that top spot for the final. And now back in third, we have Wellesley. And we will see as they come across the line, we now see that WPI crew coming across in fourth. They have done a very good job in separating themselves from that Colby crew in these final 500 meters. They now have almost a full length over Colby, finishing in fourth to make the petite final. Colby will be relegated to the third level final for this afternoon's racing, alongside of the crew from Skidmore. Now on the line, we have the men's second varsity 8 heat 1. In lane 1, Trinity. In lane 2, Williams. In lane 3, Colby. In lane 4,